Hello, everybody. This is WA7PBE here, and welcome to a very early edition, for us US folks at least, of the Operator of the Week podcast. I am very excited about this episode. I think I'm going to learn a lot. As always, there's links to the Patreon, the Buy Me a Coffee, in the link below, or the description below, I should say. Wow. That helps support the show and offset the costs that these services are. So if you can donate, I'd very much appreciate it. Also, a little bit of a special announcement. I am doing kind of a special event this weekend. I'm going to try my very best tomorrow to activate the National Mall in celebration with the Cherry Blossom Festival. And I'm going to do up a special QSL card for that. I'm probably going to ask, if people can float $1 if they want a QSL card, just because like it's going to cost money to get them printed, sent, and all that kind of stuff. So I think asking for $1 to get a special event QSL card, just gonna be a picture of the mall, the cherry blossoms, and all that, just to commemorate the special activation. Hopefully, all the flowers don't fall off by then, but um, I guess we'll see. So, without any further ado, I would love to go ahead and introduce my guest. He goes by JQ3BUM. He is an amateur radio operator in Japan. Please, everybody, welcome Shigeru from Japan.
Hello,
Good evening.
good evening. This is JQ3BUM Shigeo Tsujita. I've been licensed for 2 years. I'm a newbie ham, and I like FT8 and the CW, and I hope next year I will buy a American CW QRP CW transceiver.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what got you into the hobby? Why did you want to become a ham radio operator?
Yes, I watched the YouTube channel, and I don't know why the YouTube channel show up to me, and I clicked the Hammerdy channel. Uh, I was interested in the amateur radio since then.
Well, that's
I
cool.
start I started radio hobby from like this license free. It's called license free radios,
Hmm.
and I started amateur radio since then. I started ham radio hobby after that. Like this, I bought like this. I bought this one for the first rig.
Okay, so that's cool. Yeah. So, is the license-free radio, is that channelized? Like, does that have like specific channels or?
Yes. This
All right,
one
so
has maybe it's I think it's has 20 channels.
okay, so that's like what we call in the United States FRS, Family
Hmm.
Radio Service. So like it's very low power, and you could talk to people maybe, I don't know, a couple soccer fields away if you're lucky.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So that's cool. So did you do any like scanning or anything before that? Like, did you have any sort of scanners listening to public safety or anything like that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. So, what is the process to get your license in Japan?
Process. I I take we have to take exam like as the American do. It's the same as America. First, I take exam and pass the exam, and then next, I buy a rig, and we have to register the rig, and and then I can use this rig. Okay.
Oh wow! So
So
every time you buy a new radio, you have to register it with.
yes, that's right. That's
Hmm,
what I want to say.
that's interesting because we don't do that here. I'm guessing it'd be too much paperwork because everyone wants to buy 20 rigs.
Well, we have to register every rig. Each rig we have to register before we use it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, is it a lot of paperwork or is it pretty easy?
It's easy because we can do that online.
Hmm.
Of course, we can write documents to register them. We can do that online. So it's not difficult to do that.
Okay. So then, let's talk about POTA in Japan. So
Mhm.
you were telling me earlier, POTA started in 2020, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, um, were you one of so you were you one of the first operators to do it, or did you like learn it from somebody else? Or
No, I'm not the first one. I was in the park, not for POTA, just to operate the amateur radio, and the other station says I'm doing POTA, and wow, it's great, and I checked the POTA on the website, and then I registered. I joined the POTA, and I started in the autumn in 2020.
so you started pretty. So you were like probably one of the first few people to start doing it
Mm,
over there. Yeah.
maybe.
No, if it went there in 2020, yeah, I'd say you're probably one of the first, probably 30, 40 people to start doing it. So that's cool. Are there a lot of hunters?
Yes, maybe there are many hunters, uh, much more than activators, because uh, there's not much Japanese document about POTA. We have to read English to
Hmm.
join POTA, and send message to register the logs. So it's difficult for us to write
Yeah.
English mail. So
Yeah, I
maybe
could
it's
understand that. That'd be frustrating for sure. So I'm wondering if that's something that should maybe be brought up to the POTA team. Like, hey, let's see if we can get some Japanese translation, maybe even like a Japanese log service. That way, folks don't feel intimidated about the language barrier to
mhm.
participate in POTA. That would be a good idea. Um, hopefully, someone on the POTA admin team's watching and they could take note. But yeah, so that's really cool. So, is there a lot of parks in Japan?
Yes, around 1,000 exactly. There are 90. No, I mean 994 parks in Japan. Uh, it's quite many.
Yeah.
Like this, like small country like Japan.
That is quite a lot. And but are they fairly like accessible? Like, could you drive to them and you know activate
No,
them,
no,
or you have to
we don't
actually
have to.
walk out to them?
We don't have to drive so long to. I can go by train there in 30 minutes or 20 minutes. It's not so. It's accessible for us, for all of us. Many parks in Japan.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's really cool. So I saw something interesting on you posted on the POTA page. You were
Mhm.
using a carbon fiber mast.
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit how that works? Because like that kind of boggled my mind. It's like
Uh,
what?
It's not actually only a mast carbon fiber. It's actually a fishing rod, carbon fibered
Collapse.
plastic. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a fishing rod. Carbon fibers are conductive. So someone in Japan, someone uh, tried to feed directly to the carbon pole, fishing pole, and it worked. So it's popular, and now it's popular in Japan. Many stations trying to use them. Long one, short one, and expensive one, cheap one, and then those any fishing rod you can use any fishing rod to feed as an antenna.
That's really cool. So do you need to have like radios or like ground on it?
Yes, I used fishing pole and uh, antenna tuner. Uh, it's and some radials around the antenna, so I use the pole as a 1/4 wavelength antenna.
That's actually really cool. So I'm guessing like the biggest limiting factor is how long of a pole you can get.
Yes.
Yeah, because I don't like. What's like the biggest size pole you can get over there?
Sorry.
Yeah, I think you froze up. What size pole is it? Like how many meters?
Ah, yes. I use 9 meters. It's exactly 9 meters. It shows 10 meter on the page, but it's exactly 9 meters long. It's or I can make contact on 80 meters band to 6 meters band with that fishing pole.
Wow, so it's
You,
80 to 6 with a 10 meter with a 9 meter long pole.
you don't need any wires on along the pole. Just feed directly to the rod. You can use it as an antenna.
That's amazing. That's something I'll have to try because I don't think
Yeah,
anyone here is doing that really.
yeah. Maybe it's good for you, and especially POTA and soda. It's very uh, carryable. It's very light. It's not heavy.
Yes. if that's important. Do you do any soda, by the way? I was gonna ask.
I've never I've never tried that. I
Yeah, I'm kind of the
register
same way.
myself to soda, but it's not easy for me to climb up the mountain and doing radio on the top of the mountain. It's not easy for me.
Yeah, no, it is tough. It's a little bit tougher of an activity. But
Mhm.
so do you mainly use that fishing rod mask, or is there any other antennas you like to use when you do POTA?
Yes, I use it now. I use it on the balcony there, and also I use diamond. I don't know. Diamond is in America's diamond
Yeah, we have diamond.
antenna, uh, or some antennas that companies make. But I like the fishing rod is the most. Maybe it's the greatest for me.
Yeah, no, it sounds like an awesome antenna, and I think that's something. Like I said, I'm definitely going to have to try.
Mhm.
And because in the United States, what's really popular right now, I don't know if you know this antenna, the Buddy Stick,
No,
the
I
Wolf
don't
River
know
coil.
what is that. What is like?
Um, they're both loaded coil antennas.
Uh huh.
So they have a loaded coil on the bottom, and then usually a retractable
Uh huh.
antenna on top. And then the Wolf River coil has radials,
Mm,
and the Buddy Stick has a counterpoise.
mm,
So I'm trying to find antennas that don't have that, and this sounds like uh, the antenna you have is definitely something to look into because setting up the radials and the counterpoise is kind of like the worst part of the antenna. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's just an extra step. It'd be a lot easier to just put up a pole and be done. But yeah, so that's really interesting. So, do you get a lot of DX hunting you when you're doing parks in the air? Like, do you get any other countries in general?
hmm Yeah. I'm do I always do FT8 on the parks on the park in the park, so it's not difficult to hunt DX stations with FT8 mode. So
Yeah.
I'm doing now. I can see many DX stations here:
Mhm.
United States, Australia, Indonesia, like that.
But do they hunt? Like, if you spot yourself at a park, will they try to hunt you?
Yes,
Like, do you find
uh,
like you get a good pile?
yes, and I did activation last no not last Saturday, 2 weeks ago maybe, and I called CQUS on the FT8 mode, so many US stations call me, and I get the pile up, and it was amazing. It was exciting for me.
Hmm, that's interesting. Yeah, that's really cool. So, yeah, because I know Japan is really kind of sought after here. Because it's kind of hard to hunt Japan from the United States, especially where I am, because I'm on the East Coast, so
Hmm.
that's
Yes.
3,000 miles farther
Mm.
away. Yeah, on the West Coast, they can get you a little bit better. Um, yeah, I know it's really sought after here to get Japan on HF. Um, and like I was talking to you before, and you folks listening didn't hear, uh, Japan actually has the second most operators in the United States. So,
Mhm.
um, and you were saying before, actually, I actually didn't ask. Do you think amateur radio is getting more or less popular in Japan?
Yes, that's right. In 1995, there are 1.35 million stations in Japan. Uh, but now it's less than 380 hundred station. No, I mean 100,000
Yeah,
stations in Japan.
380,000. Yeah.
It's about one third of they were. So
Hmm.
amateur radio is not popular in Japan now.
Is there like a particular reason for that, or is it just it fell out of popularity?
I mean, I think maybe the cell phone was popular. Then then they use cell phone as a communication tool, so they don't need amateur radio anymore.
Hmm.
That's the reason. I think that's the reason.
Huh. That's interesting. So it was being used more for practical purposes than
Yes,
a
that's right.
hobby.
Mm.
That's interesting. So, but how about after, like, so for instance, you had the horrible tsunami in 2011. So
Mhm.
after that, was there a renewed interest for like emergency communications?
Yes, that's right. Uh, it's the stations become less and less, uh, the smaller and smaller. But after 2011, that at the time of tsunami, some stations were think thought it was useful for disaster. So, but now it's more smaller, the
Hmm.
scale of amateur radio stations in Japan.
That's interesting. So like there was kind of like a little bump, I guess you can say, where people are like, "Oh, this might be useful," and then they kind of forgot about it.
People think it's amateur radio is useful for communicating through when the like disaster, but it's not easy to take a license for amateur radio, so y- it's not useful like these license-free radios.
Hmm.
It's useful for us, for them, to when the disaster happen.
Hmm.
We
Yeah, so I guess it kind of makes sense because Japan is significantly smaller than U.S. So
yes, that's
you
right.
know, here like you might need a contact. Like if there's a hurricane, for instance,
Mhm,
here you might need to talk to someone a couple hundred miles away. So you
mhm.
need HF. Um, but is UHF and VHF popular over there just because of the population density?
Yes, that's right. That's the biggest difference between Japan and America. It's United States, a very huge country. It's maybe it's not the 70 centimeters band are not useful for you, but it's useful. It's popular in Japan. 70 centimeter band are very popular in Japan because we have Japan is very small and the town is small and we live in the same place all
Yeah,
together.
yeah, it's very condensed the population.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so does that present though operating challenges? Like if you're going on HF, do you have a lot of RFI noise because there's so many people?
Well, what do you mean by RF noise?
Like, do you have like radio interference noise when you're using like HF radio because there's a lot of people close together?
No, I don't think it's not happen like RF interference. Uh, it's not like the rigs sold in Japan are very good on spurious, so it's not. I think it's not. It makes no interference to the radios, TVs. I think.
Well, I was saying like so other people's devices. Do other like can you like if other people are using devices, does it make it harder to use a radio?
Uh
So
huh.
like let's say like your neighbor turns on their
Uh huh.
dishwasher. Do you have a lot of that?
Uh, yes, it sometimes happened like that. I think, but it's not very bad in Japan. It's not very bad in Japan
Hmm.
because I think those equipments are made not to not to make interference to radio equipments. I think.
We have a little bit of a problem here in America with radio interference from
Mhm.
various devices. Um, like even in my house, I have really bad common mode current, so I have to like try to isolate devices because
Mhm.
like you were alluding to earlier. It's actually difficult getting stuff from China in Japan
Mhm.
because
Yes.
it has to go through like inspections. But here in America, we can buy as much Chinese stuff as we want, and we
Mhm.
find a lot of that equipment puts out bad RF emissions. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's kind of a problem here in America we're facing as far as using HF. Is there's a lot of radio frequency interference. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So when you're doing POTA, do you actually use UHF and VHF because it's
Yeah.
so popular?
Yes. I have IC705 here, but I before I bought this one, I used this to make activation on POTA. It's it's not difficult on 70 centimeter band or a 2 meter band to make activation on the a little bit higher ground. It's popular in Japan.
Yeah, you're gonna
70.
make all us in the United States jealous because um, a lot of people have a lot of trouble making
Mm,
contact on UHF and VHF here. I'm kind of an exception because I live next to a big city, so yeah, there happens to be a little bit more, but I can't. I don't think I can actually do a successful activation on
mm,
just UHF and VHF alone here. So that's actually pretty cool that in Japan you could absolutely do that, right?
mm. Yes.
That's
Maybe in within one hour you can activate. You can walk maybe 20 stations or 30 stations. I'm living in here. This is Osaka, second largest city in Japan. So it's much easier on UHF band to activate. On, only it's on higher ground,
yeah.
higher ground. So I have to drive to the mountain, driving up to the mountain, or after climbing up the mountain.
Yeah, that's actually pretty fascinating because I don't know how the licenses work over there, but over here we have like 3 levels,
Mhm,
and the lowest level is called technician,
mhm,
and they're basically only allowed to go on UHF, VHF. They have some privileges on 10 meters, and they can
mhm,
use CW on some other HF frequencies.
mhm,
But like they basically have a hard time doing POTA at that level because
mhm.
most of it's on HF. But like over there, they would have no issue. Um, is it like similar over there? Do you have different levels, or is it all just one level for
No,
bands?
here in Japan, we have 4 levels in the license. Fourth, I have a third class amateur radio operator license, and I'm trying to get the first class license this year. And on the with the fourth class license, uh, we can use HF band without 20-meter band or 10-meter band. No, I mean 20-meter, 30-meter, and 17-meter. Uh, Without them, we can use uh, all the bands uh, with the fourth class amateur radio operator license. So with the third class, we can use 70-meter band, and power transmit power limitation will be a 50 watt up to 50 watts with the third class license. With the fourth class license, we power transmitting power limitation is 20 watt, and the third class it will be 50 watts. And with the second class license, uh, we can operate every band, and the power limitation will be 200 watts.
Okay.
And the first class, there's no limitation uh, of power and or band.
Okay. So yeah, that's kind of sort of similar here in the United States, where we have technician that is mostly UHF and VHF, a little bit of HF, like on 10 meters, and CW on, I want to say 40, 80, maybe 15 meters. I don't know if I remember that correctly. But then we have the general class, which is what I am, where you can operate on HF.
Mhm,
I don't think there's any. There's only a power limitation on 30 meters. I don't.
mhm,
I don't think there's a power limitation. I mean, I mostly kind of QRP anyways, so it doesn't really matter. And then with extra, you get all of the frequencies.
mhm,
Like with general, you only get portions of the HF bands,
mhm,
but with extra, you get basically the entire amateur portions of every HF band,
mhm.
and you know, you could basically use as much power as you want. So yeah, it's kind of similar here in a way, and I'm finding like I talked to a guy in the Azores, and they do like the Portuguese
Mhm,
system, and it's kind of similar, except their difference is that they actually have to go on a year of probation.
mhm,
So like they get a license, but they can't use a radio for a whole year. So
mhm.
that was kind of interesting to me. Um, Now, do you think that having so many levels people have to go through might be a limiting factor for you all? So you have to take a test every time you try to upgrade?
Yes. When you have I I have third class operator license, but I didn't have fourth class operator license. So anyone can try uh, any class uh, exam of any class. So uh, I have third grade now. I will try next first grade. So
Huh.
you can skip the level of the license class.
That's really interesting. So, like here in America, you actually have to go up through each one. You can
Hmm.
actually like what a lot of people do is they'll study up to the second level of the general where I am.
Hmm.
So when they go and take their test, they'll pass the technician test,
Hmm.
the first level, and then they'll also take the level for the second test.
Hmm.
Hopefully, pass that, and then they kind of bypass the restrictions of being technician. Um, but yeah, I kind of like that way better, where it's just like, well, if you want the top level, you can try to do
Hmm.
it. So I think that's actually kind of cool.
But it's not easy for us to
No,
first class.
is it just a really hard test?
Yes, I took exam last year. I took exam of first class operator license last year, but I failed that, and
Mm,
I will try again this April next month. But I think I will fail again, and next exam will be in August. I hope. I wish I will be. I hope I will be pass the exam in August exam.
mm.
I hope.
Yeah, here in the United States, it used to be free to file with the government for your license, but they just made it cost money now. So people are kind of worried that that's going to drive down numbers because people may not want to pay, even though it's a little
Mm.
bit of money. It's not much. It's like the cost of taking the family out to dinner. It's less than that actually.
Mm.
So um, yeah, we'll see. Like hopefully it doesn't affect our numbers here. But yeah, that's really interesting. So you were saying you want to get into QRP, right?
Mm.
So what makes you want to get into QRP? Is there like something specific?
Yes, it's QRP rigs are very portable, and when you want to where, wherever you want to operate with uh, this, you can carry this rig to the wherever you want. It's uh, it's great, and only 5 watts. Only with 5 watts and making DX contact, it's great, I think. And I don't want 100 watts to make make interference to the other people. I'm living in this in I'm living in apartment, so
Yeah.
I I do 100 watts, so there will be interference to the other people's equipment.
Devices, yeah.
So I like QRP because I started radios of license free. This is one of them. This can have only 500 milliwatts, and this is a great rig. So uh, small power can make
You can
great.
make the trip. Yeah.
Yes. So I think QRP is enough for me now.
Yeah. QRP is becoming more and more popular, I think,
Mm-hmm.
especially here in the United States. Solar cycle gets better and better.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm out doing POTA, um, I occasionally hear a good number of QRP stations, and they actually come through just as loud as somebody running like a kilowatt of power
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, like from about the same place. So it's actually really interesting. I only run 20 watts when I do my activations on sideband, and
Mm-hmm.
even with 20 watts, I find it plenty enough to go, all the way to Europe or all
Mm-hmm.
the way to Alaska
Yeah.
or even South America. So I think QRP is supposed to become more and more popular, and those radios are getting cheaper and cheaper too.
Mm-hmm.
That's the good thing. I know you said earlier you wanted to get an American QRP rig.
Yes. I I never have of one, but I want to have a QRP Lab. I think QCX Mini. Maybe it's popular in the United States. I want to have one, and I want to use it. But
Yeah,
there's some difficulty for us to use the rigs, foreign rigs. Yeah, but
hmm
it's we have to um, make. I mean, the Chinese rig and the American rig. We have to be examined by the bureau
At the government, by the way.
of the government. So
Yeah.
I think
No, it's the same thing. I was just wondering, like, if the bureau was the government or if it was like a separate
mm,
agency.
so. That's the that's not easy for us to use uh, Chinese rig and American rig.
Yeah. So, how long would that take usually?
I don't know, but I think it's maybe it takes a month or 2 weeks.
Oh
I
wow,
think.
take up that long. Yeah. Yeah, I just looked the QDX Mini. Yeah, I have seen that. I've actually considered getting one because that's actually a very decent radio.
Mm,
It does 80, 40, 30, and 20 on digi
mm,
modes at 5 watts, and it has an internal sound card. It's only $65 US, which,
mm,
like, over here, it's almost kind of a joke in a way, but like, over here, you know what the Baofeng radios are?
mm,
Yeah, those are really popular, and that's only like $40 more than a Baofeng
mm,
costs. So it's probably one of the cheapest HF rigs you can get. Period, I guess. And if you're doing POTA, I mean, you don't really need more than 5 watts for FT8. You could run that
mhm,
off of a 9 amp hour battery for all day.
mhm.
So yeah, that's an excellent choice of radio, I think. Um, do they do international shipping?
Yes, I think many Japanese station uses the QCX Mini. So
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, I might have to take the dive into one of those. Because I like the G90, but it doesn't do very well on data modes.
mhm,
It kind of struggles because it's not really built for that.
mhm.
It does very good on CW, which I'm very bad at. And it does very good on sideband, but as far as data mode, it's a little finicky. So, um, yeah, do you do CW on your activations at all?
Yes,
Or
yes, I do CW. I always do CW first, and next, and do FT8. And we have time to do if we have time to do some other modes. I will try, but I always do CW mode like this
nice.
puddle Kia and FT8 mode. I I seldom use this microphone. I always do this Kia and the PC like this.
Yeah, I've noticed like whenever I see the spotting page, whenever I see the Japanese stations activating, it seems like they're doing a lot of FT8 and CW.
Mhm.
Is that like the common theme?
Yes, that FT8 is became not big. I think FT8 is the most popular mode in Japan. I think
Mm.
in these days there's no uh, there's not much stations use like this UHF rig or even CW. They don't use this. We don't use this. So FT8 is the most popular in Japan now.
Hmm. That's interesting. What about FT4? Is that popular too, or is it mainly just
No,
FT8?
I don't know much about FT4 because I didn't have test. I haven't experienced FT4. So, but I think it's not popular for now in Japan.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. So sideband is not very popular over there, basically in general, right?
No, I it's also popular on 40-meter band. Uh, it's popular, but most stations now do FT8 more than SSB or CW.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess it's a lot easier. It's a lot more accessible because there's no language barrier. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
With FT8, it's like everyone understands everything that's going on to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really interesting. Um, but how about like so like if you ever have to go like really portable to a park, would you still do FT8? Like if you have to go like hike and climb, do you CW or FT8 at that point?
Mm-hmm. I I I always carry this laptop to the mountain or the park. It's not heavy. This is not heavy, so uh, it's not difficult for me to do FT8 outside. It's very exciting, but some people think of this FT8 is not so what it's not like not like amateur radio. I mean we can speak to other people. We can feel other people. So on the FT8 mode, we cannot feel the other people. It's not good. Some stations think it's not good for amateur radio.
Yeah, we have the same people here in America.
Mhm.
They're like, oh, FT8's not a real operating mode because you're not making proper contact. It's just single reports. It's like, well, it's weak signal propagation. So, um, you know, it's really no different than CW. It's just you don't have to learn CW, which is kind of a big obstacle, I think, for a lot of people here in America, is it's not required for a test anymore. So a lot of people just don't learn it. They get their license and they just talk in sideband. I think sideband's probably the most popular
Mhm.
in America. And then after that, I would say maybe FT8 and CW. Like they're kind of close, I guess, but that's mostly because of the older hams. A lot of the older hams do a lot of CW.
Mhm.
Um, most of the younger hams are kind of more into the data modes
Mhm.
and digital modes too.
It's the same as Japan, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So this has been pretty fun. Um, I learned a lot I didn't know about amateur radio and POTA in Japan.
Mhm.
So yeah, I want to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and for hanging out with me for the last hour. And yeah, hopefully, maybe next year or something, we'll do it again. We'll have like a 1 year update. By then, you'll have your class one, right?
Okay, I
Yeah.
will try. I will try. I
All
study
right.
harder and I try.
Yeah. Well, but hey, I believe in you. So I think
Thank
you
you.
can do it. But all right, well, I'll go ahead and cut it off here. I'm sure it's getting pretty late there, and I know the wife is already going to be yelling at me when I go upstairs, saying, "Why haven't you done all these things yet?" So, all right, well, I'll go ahead and wish you and everybody else a 7 threes, and thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on your channel. And I hope I will see you again, maybe next year, with the first class operator's license.
Yes,
Mm.
definitely. All right, 7 threes.